We'll have a closed session at 9 o'clock this morning that we'll be going into. We'll have a public comment at the beginning of the meeting, of course, and at the end of the meeting also, we always have public comments. And this morning, I'll call the meeting to order. I'll do the prayer this morning. Pledge of allegiance will be done by Commissioner Luke, and the roll call will be done by Petty. We'll do all. Prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day that you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity to meet like we meet here in this country. Thank you for blessing us to be in this country, Lord. We want to thank all the military that has served to give us the freedom that we have today, Lord, as we remember Memorial Day that just passed. We want to thank you for that, Lord, and thank you for blessing this nation. Be with all the elderly, Lord, who are in their houses, sick, they can't get out, and be with all the people that just need your hand, Lord, to guide them. And be with this board, and be with people here in the crowd, and be with people on virtual, Lord, that we do and say everything that's pleasing to you, because we're here to please you, Lord. And this we pray in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Commissioner Goodchild,
Here.
Commissioner Barba, Commissioner Vaughn.
Here.
Commissioner Booth,
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a quorum and may proceed.
Thank you. The adoption of the agenda. Is there anything to add this morning to the agenda? Does the board have anything to add? I got one thing that I need to add, and it's the 2025 Ramon Grant Administrator appointment. We'll put that at the end of new business. Right, I will put after the closed session, unless we get there before the closed session, but
And this is, I'm sorry, the remonumentation.
pardon?
What is it? The remonumentation.
It's the 2025 Ramon Grant Administrator appointment.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. If nobody else has anything, we'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented with that one addition.
Support. Been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Luce, to adopt the agenda as presented with the one addition. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion will be approved. Action on previous meeting one.
Chair, I move to adopt the meeting minutes from the May 15th, 2025 regular meeting.
Board.
Been moved by Commissioner Luce, supported by Commissioner Cook, to move to adopt the meeting minutes from the May 15th, 2025 regular meeting. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion has been passed. So brief public comment period. Anybody want to address anything that's on the agenda this morning? Before we get started? Agenda item on this morning, anybody want to address the board? All right. Anybody want to address the board on the agenda items this morning? Anybody out there on virtual land area? No, sir. Let the record show that brief public comment was offered, and we had no participants. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We had no consent agenda this morning. We'll move on to new business. The resolution honoring Mark Zemersky, by Commissioner Vaughn. Where's he from?
I apologize, Commissioner. No, that was corrected on one of the approval sheets that I sent in. I apologize.
That's
That didn't get-
incredible.
I believe that was not my office, but we did catch it. Trying to be a team there, helping.
Good. Tuscola County Board of Commissioners, resolution honoring Mark Zemersky, 2025-07. Whereas Mark Zemersky is retiring from Tuscola County Veterans Office Veterans Affairs Office has provided 10 years of dedicated service to Tuscola County veterans. And whereas Mark was born and raised in Cass City, graduating from Cass City High School in 1980, then started his active duty with the U.S. Navy in August of 1980. Was honorably discharged from the U.S. Navy in 1984. In August of 1988, Mark was recalled to active duty in the Navy until his retirement on September 30, 2006, as a senior chief and petty officer. Whereas on October 8, 1987, Mark started the Veteran Service Officer until recalled to active duty in the U.S. Navy in August of 1988. In the spring of 2007, Mark graduated from Exercise College with a bachelor's degree in business management. Mark worked for the village of Cass City as a code enforcement officer from 2006 to 2008 for Rail America Railroad as a logistics support specialist from 2008 to 2015. And whereas Mark started as a veteran service officer at Tuscola County Veterans Affairs in May of 2015 until promoted to director of Tuscola County Veterans Affairs on October 1st, 2015. After the veterans millage was generously passed by Tuscola County voters in 2015, which started in January of 2016, and whereas Mark was helped grow the county veterans office to 3 full-time employees, he has increased the number of veterans signed up in Tuscola County for VA healthcare from 20% to 44%. And whereas Mark has worked with the Carroll American Legion Post 7 and planning 350th anniversary of Vietnam War commemorations, recognized the 20 Vietnam War Gold Star families, and also helping to bring the moving wall back to Carroll at the end of June 2025. And whereas Mark has helped expand the number of volunteer drivers to transcript over 40 of our aging veterans to their monthly VA medical appointments, along with VA, also he started issuing the U.S. veteran flag holders and 12 by 18 American flags to the townships across the county. Annually, there are 8,000 flags issued for placement in the U.S. veterans flag holders in our cemeteries. And Mark is co-founder of the Vet to Vet group, which gathers monthly in Mayville at the Veterans You Are Not Forgotten Pavilion. Mark has been formally recognized as being the best decorator of County Veterans Affairs Office in Michigan. And therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of the residents of Tuscola County, this county Board of Commissioners, we take this opportunity to commend Mark Zimmerski for his tremendous contributions and for so profoundly improving the quality of life for so many veterans in our county, while contributing to the prosperity of our county during his many years of valuable service to Tuscola County. And we wish Mark enjoyable years of retirement. I'm done talking for the day. Somebody else got something.
I just want to say thank you to the Board of Commissioners for believing in me back in 2015. I thank the residents of the county for believing in the millage so that we could better take care of our veterans. We're waiting for the 2024 numbers, but I'm confident that it will be close to 60 million. And when I started, it was 28 million. And this is some of it's direct dollars, some of it's direct care at the VA medical. And that's something that our office has strived for. John Boggs took over as the director. Fantastic gentleman. Jessica Johnson, she is our veterans assistant. Thank the clerk's office, thank the treasurer's office, thank the best maintenance, county maintenance people I think you're ever going to find. And, but they are fantastic. And we can't forget Jenny. You know, Jenny's the one that cleans our offices, and she is without a doubt the best. And, you know, because sometimes I'm there after 4, oftentimes I'm there after 4. But anyways, she is so fantastic and lines everything up and communicates well on anything. So we got to give a shout out to Jenny. We can't forget Jenny. But tomorrow we're going to do an open house just so people can meet John and the staff and see our new office that was possible because of a grant from the state of Michigan. We moved from one end of the building down to building codes, which luckily we don't have anybody coming in asking about building codes anymore because it's downtown. So it worked out perfect. And it's all private funded. There's no millage money being used for the get together and a chance for people to say goodbye and a chance for people to meet John. But grateful. I'm not disappearing. I will still be around. You haven't heard the last of me. So thank you, sir. Oh, here, yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. John, appreciate your support.
Hi, congratulations to Mark Simorsky. He's done a great job since I've been there.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the placement on file resolution 2025-07 honoring Mark Zarzimski, Director of Tuscola County Veterans Affairs. Roll call vote.
I'll support that.
The move by Commissioner Luke, supported by Commissioner Cook. The move to approve place on resolution 2025-07 honoring Mark Simorsky, Director of Tuscola County Veterans Affairs. Place on file with roll call vote. Good thing you done that. I would have forgotten to give you the, don't have to correct me.
I was waiting.
Yeah, I would have too. Roll call vote.
Thank you, commissioners. Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodchild,
Yes.
Commissioner Bardwell is absent. Commissioner Lutz,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Move on to animal shelter hours of operation, Tyler Ray.
Back, oh, these are?
Hold it for a second.
Here we go. Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So here to discuss the hours of operation for the animal shelter, but before we begin, wanted to bring a little bit of a positive update for the animal shelter. This pertains to changing the adoption fees that I was in here to discuss a couple months ago, increasing by $35 per dog and per cat. Commissioner Bardwell made a good concern that this may decrease the adoption rate with the increased rates. I'm happy to report that as of May 28th, Animal Control has generated 85% of the expected revenue for animal adoptions for the year. So if we maintain this pace through the month of June, I think we're going to exceed that budget by 100%, and we're going to double the revenue for the calendar year. So
That's good news.
at the very least, it definitely did not decrease our adoption rate. We're actually higher than I can remember in those recent years. So moving on to the animal shelter hours of operation. I do want to take a second to apologize to the board. These are so under, I believe you got the current and proposed hours of operation. The proposed ones are how we've been operating since I became director. These are how I was operating even as an officer. So I was under the impression that my previous director did come in front of the board and change the hours. So I never did address it to the board. So this is how we've actually been operating for the last 3 years. I haven't had any concerns. No one brought up like, well, why'd you change your hours and not let anyone know? The biggest difference there is Wednesday, we were open from 12 to 7 p.m. The whole point of having that late day during the week is if someone wanted to come in and meet a dog, and they work until 5 p.m. they can't get there because we're leaving, then they could come in from 5 to 7 and do their meet and greet. This did work back in the day when we had two part-time kennel attendants, because that would be the one day during the week where their shifts would overlap. We would have a morning kennel attendant work from 8 to 5, and then the afternoon or evening kennel attendant would come in from like 10 to 7. But since I condensed those two positions down to one full-time position, that doesn't exactly work because they leave at 5 o'clock and we don't have anyone there from 5 to 7. However, with that change of the 2 part-time kennel attendants become one full-time position, that now makes Saturday and Sunday a full shift for any employee that works those days because they're not only expected to work 29 hours a week. It's a full 40-hour position. So we are there from 8 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. So if you look at the proposed hours of operation, instead of it just saying that we're closed on Sunday, we are closed to walk-in appointments, but we do schedule by appointment only. It's been working out fine. 9 times out of 10, if someone calls up to inquire about an animal to adopt, and they're like, oh, well, I get off work at 5, I can't make it back into Caro. By the time you leave, their first question is, are you guys open on the weekends? And we say, yeah, I mean, just let us know when, because there's only one employee there that could be out back walking dogs. Let us know when, we'll schedule you, and we'll make sure the doors are open for you when you get there. We've been doing adoptions just fine that way. So then, the other big difference was under the current hours, we were closed to the public on Monday. I want to reopen that. It'll just be the same as every other day during the week. 8:30 to 12 p.m. are drop-offs for stray dogs picked up, or if you need to surrender your animal, we'll be available for that. But 1 to 4 p.m. will be available for walk-ins because that is a full-time position. Again, the reason that we were closed originally on Monday, back when these hours were originally in place back in 2018, was because Saturday and Sunday were short shifts for the kennel attendant. They were only there for 5 days or 5 hours each day. So they're basically there to walk, give meds, feed dogs, do any kind of clean up any messes throughout the day, and then they leave. So Monday we were closed so they could catch up on doing the laundry and the other tedious cleaning that did not get around to during the weekend. But now that's a full-time position. All cleaning's done on the weekend. No problem. So, do you guys have any questions regarding the hours of operation?
Since these are different than our current ones, is there a way we can put these out front on that sign for a little while?
This is the way they've been operating for years, so it's not the change.
I mean, I can make it as public as possible for sure. I'll even contact Google because it is our current hours for the Wednesday 12 to 7. That is on Google. I can update it on our. I can talk to GI or IT and have it changed on our Tuscola County page and even post it on our Facebook page so the public is well aware.
So do you have any issues with that hours change or anything?
No, I do not.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the animal shelter hours of operation as presented.
Support. Been moved by supported by Commissioner Goodchild to move to approve the animal shelter hours of operation as presented. There's a motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to the board. Number 3, Mid-State Health Network, MSHN Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Board appointment. Joey Fisher.
Good morning, Commissioners. We
Good morning.
have received notice from Mid-State Health Network that they are requesting the reappointment of John Hunter to their board, and that will be for a 3-year term beginning September 1st, 2025.
Chair, I move to reappoint John Hunter to the Mid-State Health Network, MSHN Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Board for a 3-year term of September 1st, 25 through August 31st, 28.
Support. The move by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Goodchild, to move to appoint John Hunter to the Mid-State Health Network, MSHN Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Board for a 3-year period of September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2028. There is a motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Number 4, Controller Administrative Position Update. Shelley Lucas.
Good morning, and I have some handouts if you get this all done in time.
Thank you.
Okay. So good morning.
Morning.
Now that we've had a chance to have a chief accountant for approximately 90 days, I wanted to provide an update. The first page here, I have like gave this all in the right order, is a list of the candidates that I had been working with and the current status of when I've spoke to them over the last couple of weeks. And I tried to, what I did, I also provided the job description as we have it right now, as was approved by the commissioners in 2024. And I highlighted the area I was looking at for the 10 years of experience in management, accounting, et cetera. It's on page 2 under required training, skills, and experience of the CA include but are not limited to. So when I put this, this controller administrator candidates together, I reviewed the job description and tried to provide the best information that I could. So that's the first item that I have. We receive applicants that have absolutely no experience, and we've tried MAC. We have used ICMA, we've done the sponsored Indeed, which sponsored Indeed does work. It becomes costly because every time someone clicks on it, we are charged. But we have received some good candidates using that option. I brought this information today, not expecting a decision, but it's a lot of information, and I didn't want to wait to bring it to the committee of the whole. So the next item that I have are these executive searches that I've been working at here for a couple months. The first one, hopefully, if I put it in your packet right, is the Michigan Leadership Institute. That one actually was somewhat of a recent company that contacted us. They were recommended by Derek Merlot from MAC, because even though we've advertised with MAC 3 times, we have received no applicants. And this group of individuals is retired controller administrators, school board administrators, a group of individuals who many counties and different entities reached out to fill in while they were looking for someone. So this group of individuals decided to make a business out of it. And they've actually, I highlighted the cost, I believe it's in here twice. I didn't cite the page. It is page 12. What I would request is for the board to review this and try to bring this all back. I'm not done yet. So we've spent more than this amount of money in our searches and some unfortunate incidents that have happened with trying to hire individuals or hire a company to assist us. This company, along with the other one, they take this till the end. They work until they find the right candidate. They have most recently provided Cass County just last week with a great individual for the controller administrator. So that is the first one, the Michigan Leadership Institute, as I said, recommended by MAC themselves. Second one, excuse me, Double Hull Solutions. They were recommended by our current auditors, Maynard Casterson. It's taken a while to be able to speak to Nate. I just spoke to him a few weeks ago. Their quote is starting on page 30, and they have a lot of different options. It's a little bit more expensive. Maynard Casterson highly recommends them. And when you have the opportunity to look through this, you'll see all the different counties and different entities they've worked with. I wanted to provide the board with some options and potentially look at maybe taking this route. And maybe bringing these companies in, possibly, maybe even for a special meeting, if the board has any interest in pursuing it.
That's your big question, Leland?
So MAC doesn't have their, like when I was on the school board, Michigan School Board Association had their own search team within that. MAC doesn't, and they charge us for it, but MAC doesn't have a.
I don't believe that would be true, or they
Yeah,
would
that's-
have
yeah,
recommended
no,
this
yeah,
company.
that's surprising.
And maybe these were the gentlemen that Mac used to use, and now they have their own. That's,
So Chair, so the 10,560, that would be, till we find somebody?
so we find some. And they do provide an approximate timeline, but they say, of course, that contingent upon the board, how the board would like to move forward in different options that they give. And like I said, the one from Double Hall Solutions has a lot of options. So I'd prefer if the board would choose to take this route, that we actually have these individuals come in and give you their presentations and answer your questions.
Our next committee holds June, help me,
Right?
9th. I'd say, see if it's a possibility they could be here then.
Yeah.
Just one commissioner, but I think that we need to get on them. If this-
Well, yeah, you need to get presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subject
Yep.
to,
Put it back on the committee of the whole and talk about it again?
Yeah. Well, I'll get a presentation from them too.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I did give you each a copy of the controller administrator's job description as it was designed in 2024. I left it as it stands unless the board would like to adjust that. I'd originally thought about trying to go back to my programs, but that's back quite a few years. This is the job description. I don't believe we changed really anything in here from when Mike retired. We did update a few things in 2024 when Clay retired. So that could also be discussed.
yeah.
I will see if Nate and Chet are available to come in and present.
Those two companies.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other
I think as far as this, job description too, if we choose to go to either one of these companies, we could have them look at it too.
That is part of the service they do provide, but this would be the starting job description. And
right.
yes, unless I received other direction.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Shelley.
Any question, you got questions?
I do have one question, I guess, for the board too, that, in the past, I know we had a group come in to do our audits. Were they kind of filling the same role too, or
No,
no?
our auditors cannot fill the same.
Okay, I didn't
So
know
our
if that was,
recent-
I'm just,
Our recent auditors, Maynard Casterson, are the ones that recommended the Double Hall Solutions.
okay,
So
okay. Thank you for that. Sorry.
you're welcome. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 8:30. We'll move on to the 2025 Renton Grant Administration appointment. I was called yesterday by,
I think it's on
Mr.
there.
Yates?
Excuse me, Nick?
Yates.
Oh, Mike Yates.
Yeah, Mike did. Okay, and, in this Raymond Grant Administrator, I'm not really sure, but Platt used to be the administrator for this company, and, then when Neil was here, Neil was gonna sign on it, but something happened, and that last year I signed as the administrator for this here. I accepted it last year. Now, this year, they're asking for, my signature also, but they're asking to go along with a board motion that makes me the administrator. Now, I could be the administrator, or somebody else could be the administrator, that's I don't mean, but, so that's what we're doing, we're looking for a board motion to make it official. or we can send out to this company. It's the Office of Land Surveyors of Remonumentation Department. Somehow Mike Yates has jobs that he lets out or something through this. It's a grant that he gets, and he can't get the grant without this motion or ordinance referred to motion. Okay, so that's what this is about. So any discussion on that?
Guess we've done it in the past.
Well, last year, for some reason, I signed it and they accepted it because Clayette was the administrator. And for some reason, Neil did not sign it, so I did, and they accepted it this year. They're asking for a motion. It says I'm the grant administrator. To go along with my signature when it's presented.
Has anybody began to draft a motion?
No,
Can I see that and I can look
Sure.
on it? Proposed motion would be moved to appoint Chairperson Kim Vaughn as the 2025 Remonumentation Grant Administrator and authorize all necessary signatures.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
the move by Commissioner Lewis, support by Commissioner Cook. Can you do it one more time, Arthur?
It's been moved and supported to appoint Chairperson Kim Vaughn as the 2025 Remonumentation Grant Administrator and authorize all necessary signatures.
There's a motion and more discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Okay, that takes us through the new business. We're not at 9 o'clock yet, so we'll jump into old business. And we got the electronic lock for the magistrate's office. Like, no, back here.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have no report. I emailed them again yesterday asking if they had made a decision how they were going to fund it, or if one of them would be online today to explain something, and I received no response. So at this point, I have nothing further to give you on this issue.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Moving on to number 2. Finance review, Erica Dibble. Give a comment.
My apologies, I was not able to get this into the original packet. Just emailed to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bartle's here for now.
Thank you.
You, Ian. So the first is the PowerPoint presentation. So it's a brief financial update for you. And just some brief notes about the challenges in our office. So first is keep in mind with these numbers, we are in open audit. So what that means is the fund balances from 2024, if there was a deficit, it has not transferred over to 2025 yet. So any use of fund balance has not yet been reflected. So once those are updated, obviously we'll come back and we'll do another update as well as with the final 2024 audit. Those will be presented as well. Included today is a budget to actual report for 2025, accounts over budget report for 2025, and the PGS fund tracker summary. So challenges that are impacting us right now, and several things that you're aware of. The prior controller administrator that was here for 6 months in 2024 was a former auditor, and some of the entries that were processed were entered as if he was our auditor. So when he left abruptly and the retired controller administrator came back as chief accountant, she flagged some things that were done differently than they had been done in the past. That doesn't mean right and that doesn't mean wrong. It just means different. So that required us, her first, and now myself, to do a deeper dive on those transactions because they were different than had been done in the past. Some of them were done logically, and some of them needed a little more review. Those that we found are currently being reviewed by the auditors. The ones that I found or Clayat found that were what we believe to be outside of the scope of the controller. Is this appropriate or inappropriate? So those are being reviewed by the auditors. If there's anything that needs to be adjusted, they will present that and say this fund account or this line item should have been this line item. So right now we're not moving anything. We're not changing anything. We're just reviewing. Another challenge is that there was no chief accountant working alongside of Clayette when she was here. So when she left and Neil took over, that was fine. He was our former auditor. He was aware of the county's situation. However, he left abruptly. So when he left abruptly, there was no transition of knowledge of the state of the county to the next person. So we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. However, there's many pieces of the puzzle that are missing. And some of them were just smushed together that don't actually belong together. Next is the physical historical records. Some of the prior records were destroyed. They were sent, believed to no longer be valid, and some were sent to storage. So we're currently anything that we can't find, we are going through storage. We're going through digital records. We're seeing if there's any proof of why this happened. One thing that I was taught by Clayette and Mike Hoagland is you don't make a quick transaction. You validate all of the reasons it's there in the first place. So why were those funds in that line item before you decide to move them? So before I make a recommendation to move something, I want the history. Why is it there in the first place? And then is that valid or has the situation changed? Has the rules changed? And then we can make a recommendation as to what we need to do. Next, as you know, I'm fairly new and I started mid-audit. So I did hit the door running. I believe my second week here, auditors were on site. So I had to be able to answer questions that I didn't quite have access to quickly. So I had to find all those answers for them. And then, as you know, we hired Plant Moran, and that'll be in another slide as well. They were to review a lot of the transactions from the previous controller, the one who was only here for 6 months. And they did not provide the full review. They did do some, and they provided some, but not full. And we'll get to that on another slide. And then to further compound the issue, we have a new auditing firm for 2025. So what that means when you have a new auditing firm is they don't have the historical records either. So they do get your previous audit numbers from the previous auditors. But what they don't have is the why. So they are asking for everything. They want a copy of every lease that we have. If we are the receiver or the payer, right? So they want every single thing. Next is, this is how, we are doing internal review, or why. So the retired, retired, chief accountant / controller administrator, Zach Meister, she reviewed Q4 in 2024 when she returned. She returned as chief accountant to help out. So she had highlighted several things, and one example that was already corrected by her and the board's approval was the MMRMA distribution allocation. So that's just one thing that she found that was corrected. And again, this is reiterating, the controller is not the same as an auditor. They do not have authority to act as an auditor. We have guidelines that we set, the board has set, as to what the controller can do without board approval. Many of the transactions between the period of April 1st and October 1st were posted with either handwritten notes, and some have backup as to why that transaction happened, and some do not. So in our system, it's required that you put your backup in there. The system will not let you proceed without it. So some of the backup is literally a handwritten note as to why the transaction happened. Well, in my opinion, that is not enough. Give me more details. Why did you do this? Why did you move A to B? So again, all of those are requiring a deeper dive. So we are looking into those, and the good news is there does not appear to be anything that was any misuse. It was only a judgment call. Should it go in count A or count B? So we're just validating, is that valid or not? And we're moving on. As I noted, we're discussing anything that I feel is outside of his scope with the auditors. And then the other thing I'm doing is we're just reviewing all vendors who were paid in 2024 to make sure that there was appropriate approval for all of those. It's high level. We are not doing a deep dive. So when we review an entry, I know this is rather busy, but when we receive an entry or review an entry, we determine if it was within the scope of the controller administrator. And if so, did it require board action? And if so, was board action received? And if not, then we're going to need to bring that back to the board. If no board action was required, then was there adequate backup? And if there wasn't, then we need to determine what was the impact to the county, and do I need to bring that back to the board? Oh, you're okay, Ian. That's fine. I know we only have 15 minutes before the closed session. You can move to the next one. Thank you. So an example of an entry that needs review, I just included one sample here for you. So this was the backup, a copy of a report, which is great, with a handwritten note. Okay. However, this particular line item is for the restricted hospital funds. So why were these funds moved? This was a restricted account. So this required a deep dive. I still have not found the exact information. However, research has found it happened in October 2017 is when this line item was created. And it was created per retired controller administrator Zach Meister because there was a grant, and that line item, or that grant, ended. But there was a residual money left. So we had to then restrict those funds for use per the grant. You cannot use it for anything else. It's restricted, right? So those funds were put into this line item to keep them there. And if we need to use them, we can, but only for that purpose. Okay, if you go to the next slide. So this transaction was done as on that one, and then it was done a second time. So the first time in June, but effective for December of 2023, he increased that restricted line item from 5,000 to 10,000. Did not have board approval to do that. I have no idea why he did that. So then that was June 1st. And then on July 11th, he took the full 10,000 and moved it to a non-spendable fund equity line item. So just the word restricted and non-spendable, they do sound similar. They sound synonymous, however, they're not. So non-spendable line item is equity, for example, in your home. I have equity in my home, right? But if I go to the grocery store, I can't use that money. It's not actually spendable to me. It is equity. It increases my net value, but it's not cash that I can take to the bank right now or to the store right now. Whereas a restricted fund is you can't spend that money except for one purpose. So that's restricted. So for this hospital resident fund, it is my understanding, and I am working on validating that, it was for a mental health grant or a hospital mental health or medical expense grant. So if a resident, at that time, the grant was to help residents pay their medical bills or mental health medical bills. So that money has to be set aside for that purpose only. So by moving it to non-spendable, he moved it to where we can't touch it, not even for its intended purpose. Non-spendable, we cannot touch it. So I don't understand the thinking there. So before I come to the board and ask you to move it back, I'm going to continue to do some more research. But those are the things that we're looking into, and it takes time because we have to drill down and go to storage and find the motion from October of 2017. Why did we put it there? The next slide is one of the hiccups was there was transactions processed after the close of books that impacted our 2023 ending numbers, which meant our numbers here did not reflect what was showing at the Department of Treasury. And that's an issue, obviously. So it wasn't huge. However, it's still a problem. We cannot finalize our 24 audit until we correct the opening balance of 2024, which is the ending balance of 2023. So the auditors are reviewing those transactions to determine why they happened, what was valid, and then we'll go from there. Next is Plant Moran. So they were hired to help review the transactions and fill the gap. So they did provide a few things. They helped with some of the fund cleanup. And I believe they helped with some of a grant documentation as well. However, they were not forthcoming with information. So they were attending board meetings. However, they were also not taking action on said board meetings. So the controller's office was still doing budget amendments. They were still doing all the things that the board took action on. The controller's office was doing. So Plant Moran was on the meetings, but they were not actually processing any transactions. Nor were they sending emails to the controller's office to say, I listened to the meeting and there was a budget amendment and I need you to do this transaction, and providing it to them to do, giving direction. They were not doing that. So when I came on, we started reviewing, I started reviewing all of the transactions prior to my time, and I started making sure all of those were done. We realized that these were things on their list that they were not doing. So we had a meeting with them. We discussed, what are we doing? What's the state of this contract? And at that time, it was determined that they were not working in our for our system, for what we needed. And so I provided here a sample of things that were red flags to me. For example, they were billing us for billing us. So they were billing us a quarter hour a month for creating our building. They were also billing us for discussing our bill. So those are things that were red flags to me. They did provide us with deliverables after that meeting that we had with the finance committee. And so some of those transactions should have happened prior to the audit opening, but they didn't. So we are working with the auditors on those transactions because we already opened audit. We're not going to now do a transaction that could potentially impact the same thing the auditors are doing. Next is just a brief note of where you can find the financial reports on the website. Next slide, please. These are posted monthly. So it would be just a reminder that you can go. And of course, you're always welcome to stop in and see us. Next is I provided you with 2 reports. I do apologize for their length, but they're as brief as I make them. The first one is the budget to actual report. And this shows you what is the amended budget or original if there has been no amendments. What is the use to date and what is the percentage of budget use? So you can look through that. Again, there are no fund balances because again, we're not updating them until after the end of the audit. So I understand this is large and I don't expect you to have any questions on this today since I just gave it to you this morning, but I'm definitely willing to answer any questions at the next committee of the whole. And then the next report is the line items that are over budget, and that has the red at the top. So there are a couple of budget amendments that are still in my to-do box. I have not got to them yet because I was trying to get these reports out to you. So I also have not reached out to any department heads to discuss any of these line items to see if there's a budget amendment that they need, that they have authority to request. However, I'm also not ready to bring it to the board and ask for all of these budget amendments until I have time to discuss it with department heads. And then lastly is the PGS. Now I did find Clayette's tracker, however, it was not updated between April and October of 2024. So I have been going through the minutes to find what was approved. So based on what I have found to date, it appears that there is roughly $2,062,679 remaining in the PGS. Now, those are in an unassigned fund, but they are grouped with other funds. I'm happy and willing to provide you with that detailed tracker once I confirm I have everything. I am scouring the minutes to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I know that was really rapid. So I'm open for questions now, or I can answer any questions after your closed session or at the next meeting if you prefer.
Chairman? Let's go on. Do you know in the 6 months, how many times that money was moved without board approval yet?
I do not. I have not been tracking that. I have just been handling them one transaction at a time. So it is within the job description of the controller administrator to manage the general fund. So I guess what is the line of if, for example, right now, per the Michigan Chart of Accounts, we are using 265 number and we should be using 264. The auditors have directed me to move the funds from one to the other. I am doing that based on the auditor's direction and not coming to the board because that's to be compliant with the Michigan Chart of Accounts and our auditors. However, I am also providing that backup in my transactions. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because the auditor said you should be using this account number, not this account number. Here's the rule. So that's what I'm doing. So within the scope of a controller administrator, some of those are valid, right? Move from A to B. However, some are not. So it's also noted that every transaction in BSNA requires 2 sets of eyes. So when I enter a transaction, I scan in my backup. Somebody else in my office lays their eyes on those transactions and says, this is enough backup. This is adequate. And they approve that transaction. So I don't know why they were approved back in 2024 without that adequate backup, but I wasn't here then, so I can't speak to it.
Any more questions for Eric at this time?
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad,
Very nice report.
I'm glad to get a handle on the PGS funds anyway, you know, because that was.
Right.
for the purpose, to get a handle on that where,
Yeah.
where in case something could go overseas or whatever,
Yes.
that's what's there for one time.
Because we really didn't know what we had.
Well, it is, with all of us, that, it was all over everywhere. They never give us a plain answer on what we had. So, yeah, but
And I will give you more specifics once I, finish my review of 2024. So, and then I'll give you the tracker that you're used to getting from Clayette that has the motion numbers, the amounts, the approved amount versus the actual expense amount. Because some of them were not expensed to the full amount. But what I did here was I included the approved amount. So we could have slightly more money if the expenses were less than the approved amount. For example, the vote. I believe the approval was for 150,000 and the true cost was roughly 148. Right? So there's a slight leftover amount of money there.
it sounds to me it's pretty close. You're pretty close with, I remember what it was when Clay had left and what we used out of it since that, that's like furniture for the, and that, you're pretty close.
I have one question too. I understand like this is like kind of like a developing problem. I guess we don't know how deep it is, but if we got either we got a good controller or we hire somebody, is there any sort of timeline that we think we have any idea of like when we could kind of get back to normal? Like, do we know how far back? Like, if we had to redo every transaction or movement of money, like what would be like our to get this back to normal, I guess, like back to solve? Do we have any time frame, like how long that would
Our
take?
goal is by the end of audit, which has to be submitted to the state by June 30th.
Okay,
So any corrections after that cannot be posted back to 2024.
okay,
So if we say, for example, this 5,000 that is in different type of account, we would move that for 2025. We would not go back to 2024 if it's after June 30th, or after we close the books.
okay,
Or we would cause the same problem we had last year where the ending balance doesn't match what was reported to the state of Michigan.
okay,
However, I think, we've done our due diligence, we've reviewed what we can, and we're going to move forward after that. Now, there could still be things that we find late 2 years down the road, but at that point you address it and you say, well, I think that probably should have been in a different account number. Let's take it to the board. Would you like us to leave it where it is for the last 2 years? Or would you like us to move it?
okay,
And then at that time, it would be moved in that present year.
okay,
And we would have the backup as to the board motion or whatever transaction history we have.
okay. And then what is the consequence of like we don't hit our deadline? I guess what is the consequence like for the county?
If we don't submit our audit on time.
I
or-
guess if it's like, yeah, if you don't submit your audit on time or the audit's like incorrect, I guess.
Correct. I believe you can do an amendment and have it restated. However, if you fail to submit it on time, I'm sure there's fines.
Okay.
I honestly do not know how big those fines are, but I don't believe it's ever happened. I
Okay.
have heard stories about, Clea and or Mike Hoagland being here on June 30th, at 10 PM, whatever it is, to get it submitted. So obviously, you know, our goal is to be compliant with the state of Michigan. The other thing we have to figure out is getting through audit. I still have a list of things that are remaining that I have to get out to the auditors. And that they have to have time to review and get back the draft that I bring to the board, or they bring to the board.
And just wrap it up, because we have to get the process. John, this is nothing new. We go through this every year a lot of time. You have to do the audit to get the final books buttoned up so you can move on to the next year. You know, so this is really nothing new. It's just your audit. Just 24 is not finalized to the audit.
Okay.
Then you can move on to the final. Thank you, Erica, for that.
Thank you, Eric.
And I'd like to make sure this is on the committee of the whole on June, whatever the next one is, June 6th,
June 9th.
June 9th, sorry,
Are you
Would
gonna
you
do
like the same report or would you like an updated report?
updated. Thank you.
Is that enough time? We'd be ready to give something.
Well, I can repeat these reports, but we won't be done with audit.
No, I understand.
But definitely I can run these. reports
Well,
again
it'll
for
give
you.
us time to look at it and any questions.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, we're gonna get ready to move into closed session.
Chairman, do we have to do a motion on that, or?
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to move to approve the financial review as presented.
I'll support that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook to reapprove it.
Move to
Move.
approve the
Finance.
finance review.
Oh.
The finance review.
The finance review is presented. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's been approved. With that, I guess we can, we're gonna go in the closed session.
Sharon, I do not see a properly written motion on what the controller administrator's office prepared for you to go into closed session.
Yeah, I was looking for the other part of it.
Yeah, that is not there.
Let me go print that.
Huh?
I can go print that.
I can pull up your email. Maybe.
Chair, I make a motion that the board meet in closed session under section 8(1)(d) of the Open Meetings Act to consider the lease of real property with Ian Lee, Shelley Lutz, Mike Miller, and Jody Fetting permitted to attend.
Support that.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook.
To move, the motion to meet in closed session under section 8(1)(d) of the Open Meetings Act to consider the lease of real property with Ian Lee, Shelley Lutz, Mike Miller, and Jody Fetting permitted to attend.
Any more discussion? Is that a roll call vote there?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Roll call vote, please.
If you're ready. Commissioner Goodchild,
Yes.
Commissioner Barbell is absent. Commissioner Lutz,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Yes,
Motion carries. You may proceed.
thank you. There's a back, closed session, we're back in open session, and welcome you back into the boardroom. With that, a quick question before we continue. We're gonna take a 10-minute recess, and then we'll, continue on with the board meeting. With that, we're back in 10 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. We'll resume the board commissioners meeting this morning. First thing on the list is, Michigan State. No. We have a motion with someone would like to, fill in the blanks with.
Shelley was working on crafting that.
I am, yeah.
Oh, I'm
To
sorry.
know how much further.
Okay, I didn't.
$7,746.
And a new couch. Or extra tires. We'll make a motion on what you think square footage should be, or that's for discussion. Anybody want to discuss,
Yeah, this would be your opportunity to discuss
Discuss
now
the
that we're out
square
of closed session.
square footage, amount? Commissioner,
What was that? I'm sorry. Couldn't hear you.
the square footage amount, what do you think for the state police post?
I think at least 25. I know that was like
At least.
I agree.
at
with that.
least, and
Yeah, at
maybe,
least 25.
maybe even offer a little bit more because it's been 10 years.
That's, I mean, it's been what, 20 years?
I think we started at $27.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, that sounds right.
That
Because
sounds better.
we can always come down. What do you think, Mr. Cook?
I'd like to know what other posts are.
We gotta make that decision.
Yeah, I know, that's, I just would feel better if we can do that. I guess if we can, we can. What do we put in?
27? 27?
Yep.
Director Miller, you feel all right with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve that per the recommendation of Building and Grounds Director Mike Miller, that the square foot amount for the monthly lease of the Michigan State Police Building located 1465 Cleaver Road, Carroll, Michigan, 48723 be $27 a square foot. The building is 7,546 square feet total. Remaining terms of the lease to be worked on by Mike Miller and Shelley Lutz with State of Michigan. Final lease to be brought back to the board for review prior to signing.
Support that.
So moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Lutz. To move to approve that per the recommendation of Building and Grounds Director Mike Miller, that the square foot amount for the monthly lease of 1465 Cleaver Road, Carroll, Michigan, 47223 be $27 a square foot. This building was 7,546 square feet. Total remaining terms of the lease to be worked out by Mike Miller and Shelley Lutz with the State of Michigan. Final lease to be brought back to the board for review before signing. That is the motion. Any more discussion?
Does that have to be a roll call vote, Jody?
Not unless requested.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion has passed. With that, we'll move into corporate finance and resolutions. We have one from the Genesee County resolution. There's more on that. We do have the Representative Alexander M53 Amish buggy ride. When was that again?
I think that's tomorrow.
I think it's gonna say tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow. He's gonna take a ride through, where the buggies are proposed to go.
No, I think down 53.
South 53.
Yeah, where that most accidents are happening.
Move on to Commissioner Liaison Reports. Mr. Goodchild, have anything for us?
I do not at this time. No.
You know, so the road commissioners would all.
I have not I'm gonna call him today, actually. I've been meaning to get with him.
I remember the problem that Commissioner Young used to have. It's on Thursday, about the same time we have this one.
Yeah. And I've talked to, can't recall his name right now. I got his number, with the director, like the road commission a few times, and I've been meaning to get over there. It just hasn't worked out with mine or his schedule to kind of meet up, but I'm going to call him this week and I'll have an update at the next meeting for it.
The Bardwell is absent today. The EDC, I know they're still going through interviews right now, looking for a new leader over there. In fact, they have interviews the next day. Today, I didn't make this week, but I'm gonna try to make it today, so see if they have a cancel. So I know they're moving forward with that. That's all I have. We'll move on to Commissioner Lutz.
I don't have anything.
Mr.
I don't have anything in this.
Ms. Bowman. Any other business is necessary? Help on board? Anybody got anything they wanna add to the board this morning? Any other public comments this morning?
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Ryan Robinson, Sheriff of Tuscola County. I just wanted to get up here and talk for a few moments about last meeting that we were at. There was a very poorly timed joke directed toward Detective Sergeant Nitz, bringing up some very serious concerns. And I realized it was a joke. I wasn't offended by it. I understand how some people could be offended by it. When I left, I thought everything was good until later on my phone started blowing up because someone posted in thumbnet.net some misquotes and also basically making it seem as if Sheriff Robinson is a problem with mental health in this county. So I publicly wanted to come up here and talk about how, again, I realize it was a joke. It was a very poorly timed joke, but I don't want my reputation to be affected as an elected official because it was made like that and then again misprinted. Since I've been in office, Steve Anderson and I have been working with
Always looking for help.
trying to get some to Tuscola County to expand on our CISM team, basically for our officer wellness when officers are involved in critical incidents. I've been in discussions with TBHS, trying to get them
What are you
more mental health services for our inmates. And in addition, I have also been working with the VA to try to establish Tuscola County's first veterans response team. Currently in the state, there's only one, and that's in the Ann Arbor area.
No, when you say
That would
some
basically be officers responding to vets that might be in mental health crisis on the scene, not treating them as if they're criminal, trying to get them the services that they need during a mental health crisis. I'm simply waiting on the training from the VA in Detroit in November, but we already have that information. I've told Lieutenant Hull to sign people up already. So I am a huge proponent of mental health and I will support anyone in any way with that. And I just hope that Mary Dreyer and the likes can post something positive.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and I want to put, it was a bad comment on my behalf. And I recognize that by no means that I refer to anything else. So I think, Sheriff Robinson's been doing a fine job. And it was a bad poor comment on my part. But let's put it behind, I want to put it behind us and move forward because it was. So I appreciate that. And extended public comment.
Ian, are we running the clock, are we?
Right. I don't plan to talk more than 5 minutes. I apologize.
That's gotta be fair for everybody.
Apparently. So with one of the reports that Erica submitted, I just have a couple of questions and I don't expect you to be able to answer those for me today. But many of the items for the over budgeted line items report that she submitted to you, there's some things in here that do not have a 2025 budget at all. And so the one that was concerning to me that stood out was page 33 of 41. It's for Fund 678 for the health insurance fund. There's the 2025 amended budget column shows 0. The year-to-date balance is $1.193 million. So that's showing us obviously over budgeted because we never had a budget to begin with. And I'm not understanding why. And then my follow-up question to that would be, if that was not budgeted and we were projected to be at a balanced budget with no money in our contingency fund this year, where is those funds that are over budgeted in this report? Where's that money going to come from? So that if you, as you're going through that, if you can look, I'd like to be able to have a report back on that because it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense to me. Some of them are not very much over budget. Some are like FICA and little things like that, but that one just was alarming to me and I don't understand it. And I'm sure there's an explanation. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Jody. Okay. Any more public comment? Go for the board. Anything out there yet? Let the record show that we extended public comment was offered and we had two participants. We had Sheriff Robinson and Clerk Jody Teddy, a public comment. And with that there, we'll take a motion to adjourn the committee meeting this morning.
I'll make that motion.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, by Commissioner Cook, to adjourn the committee meeting this morning. I'll thank everybody who tuned in to us this morning. It was in the boardroom this morning. It was all favors say
Aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. With that, I'll open up statutory finance part of the meeting this morning. Call the meeting to order and we'll start out with a roll call from Statutory Finance.
Thank you. Commissioner Gottrider?
Here.
Commissioner Barville is absent. Commissioner Vaughn?
Here.
Commissioner Lutz?
Here.
Commissioner Cook?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, you may proceed.
Thank you. First thing on the agenda is action of previous meeting minutes.
Here, I make a motion on the previous meeting minutes of statutory finance, 15th of May of 2025.
Support that.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook, to approve the action of the previous meeting minutes, statutory finance, 15th of May, 2025. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion has been approved. Move on to new business. The review and approval of the finance report and checks.
I make a motion to review and approval of finance report and checks 5/29/25 finance docket.
Support.
So moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Goodchild, to review and approval of the finance report and checks on the 5/29/25 financial docket. There's the motion. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Been approved. Number two, the review and approval of the daily report and checks.
Chair, I review on the approval of the daily docket and checks, 5/29/25 daily docket.
I'll support that.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook, to review and approval of the daily report and checks, 5/29/25 daily docket. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Number three, review and approval of the per diem report and checks.
Chair, I review and approve of the per diem reports and checks, May 2025 per diems.
Support that.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook, to review and approval of the per diem report and checks, May 2025 per diems. Any more discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The deals have been approved. I see nothing under old business. Any public comment on the statutory finance part of the meeting this morning? Anything on the statutory finance part of the meeting this morning? None here, none, let the record show that public comment for the statutory finance meeting was presented and they had no takers. And with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the statutory finance meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
So much, Commissioner Lee, supported by Commissioner Good job. To adjourn the statutory finance part of the meeting this morning. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.